Hello everyone, Storm 101 here. Today we'll be watching a system that's been coming around from the pretty much the several plays, eventually getting into ports of Tennessee Valley, Ohio Valley. There's still a lot of questions with the system where if this could bring a decent winter storm possibly for portions of the Mid-Atlantic and Ohio Valley. That's a big question. Could it bring some flash flooding issues across portions of Dixie Valley to the lower Ohio Valley? That's another question. Could it also bring some severe weather? That's also another question across Port Suffolk Plains, Michigan into Dixie Alley here. And it could also bring a lot of wind. That's another question. There's well the system stuff that we'll be watching here. It's quite far out, but this is something. This is pretty much really the only thing we could talk about this point. The weather is just gonna be that quiet. So let's go ahead and get started here with the GFS model here. And as we continue on, there's going to be a pretty decent round of rain going on across Dixie Alley here. It should not really bring much of any issues. That's Thursday night into Friday, but again, nothing big will be happening. So you get a piece of energy right here. So you got some cold air in place here, bringing in some snow across the Great Lakes. It does have some moisture with it. Then eventually you're going to see a low develop somewhere around Texas, and eventually move up to the northeast, something like this here. And it will start to deepen here. Now, one thing for certain here is that the GFS ball is actually quite weaker with this. It's actually 1,002 millibar low. For a lot of runs, it's been under 1,000 millibar low, which can create quite a bit of dynamic cooling on the northern side of this, which does bring a quick mix of snow and probably some sleet and freezing rain. Now, this could also bring a potential threat for severe weather across the summer plains into Dixie Alley and a chance for some flooding across the Tennessee Valley into the lower Ohio Valley there as well. And this will definitely be something to watch here. Now, it's weaker than on its last run. If we actually look to the previous run, you can see here it's under 1,000 millibar low, and it does show a little bit better coverage of snow. That's going to be the biggest question here about the winter storm potential with this system, which may have a chance to bring a winter storm across a few of these states here. Really, generally anywhere from Missouri into Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, pretty much generally most of the Mid-Atlantic. Could see a winter storm, but there's just some high uncertainties with this here. Let's go over some of those main problems. A couple of those main problems. Problem number one, it's not going to have any support from the polar jet stream, so it's not going to have a lot of cold air to work with. Now, your thickness values is below the 540 line, but at the surface, the temperatures are going to be a little bit warm. So it won't have the polar jet stream to work with to deepen, so the low is pretty much all on its own if it's going to try to create some dynamic cooling. And that's something to watch for. Stronger the low, the more dynamic cooling there will be in place. Weaker the low, the less chance there will be snow with this system, which you can see here. This is the 12Z run, and if we look into the 18Z run, it's much weaker, and it does not show us much snow with the system. So there's still some uncertainties here. This may have a chance to bring in a decent amount of snow, but right now it's looking pretty low at this point here. What's been very common with the models here, they show a pretty strong system pretty much around this time frame up to 10 days or something like that, and eventually it just dies down by every run. It just trends like that way. Would that happen? That's a possibility. It could happen to this system too. And and I'll tell you guys something. This system right here, this used to be a pretty good system look that goes up across the Tennessee Valley into the Ohio Valley and brings in a big winter storm. And that's in the 7 to 10 day range, and now we're in about 48 hours to, yeah, 2 to 3 days. Look at it now. And that could possibly happen with this other system with the models. And that's what we'll be paying attention to. And it's been trending weaker, at least from the GFS standpoint. It's also been trending a little bit further south with some of the models there as well. So This could bring the winter storm for a move into a couple more states like Kentucky and West Virginia. May have the potential, but we'll see about that. Right now, I'm not really seeing this becoming a huge winter storm or anything like that with this system, although this here could become a pretty good rainmaker over some of these regions here and also could bring some severe weather, which we'll go over those things in just a moment. But that's just a GFS, and like I was talking about the polar jet stream, you can see here, so this is pretty much the same time frame here. Your polar jet stream is way up here. So it's right here, and you can see it does not have any support behind the system, although this is pretty much your subtropical jet stream here, and there's no polar jet stream with this thing, so that's pretty much the main issue here. Although it does have a decent trough behind it, but it's really good to depend on all that dynamic cooling with this system, and that'll be something we'll be watching for. Severe weather-wise, there's not a lot of divergence here, and what divergence is where those clouds or whatever will be able to build up into the atmosphere. Now, if it's stuff like this, thunderstorms will have a much harder time to build up, so it may be in a more way of shower. So that could be another problem here. Stronger the winds in the 500 millibars and stuff like that, the lesser chance there's going to be some thunderstorms because there's not a whole lot of divergence to work with. There's some, but there's not a whole lot to work with for that chance for some severe weather. Let's look into the European model at a different standpoint here with this system. And you can see here, it's a stronger low, but it shows multiple lows here. Which I don't think this is realistic. I think it's going to be all in one low. It's further north, it's a little bit stronger, does bring a ice and snow mix across portions of Kansas, Nebraska, and Iowa, eventually getting into Illinois. You'll see another area pop up here across the Mid-Atlantic, which will be some of those guys' dream over there. You can see there it does transition over to snow, but I don't think this is a realistic solution because it shows multiple low pressure systems with this. You can see here what the model had before 6 hours earlier is right here, then it jumps over here. So it's not really that realistic, and it's going to be expected to change. I mean, this is 162 hours out. Something happened to my pin there. There we go. So it's 162 hours out. So this is early Tuesday morning or late Wednesday night of next week here. So we've still got quite a few days away here. And just by looking at this, could bring quite a bit of rain across portions of Dixie Alley back to early Tex. Could bring a decent amount of wind along with it as well. Although on the last run, they show a much stronger low, bringing in some snow, but also brings in a lot of wind and severe weather. That'll be we have a little bit better confidence on that, but we have the least confidence on the snow potential. But European model is your friend at this point here if you want to see quite a bit of snow at this point. Which unfortunately I think that's going to be an unrealistic solution there. And let's move on to the Canadian model with this. And which is an older run, which it's you can see here. Now I think this is a little bit more realistic here. Now, unfortunately, it does not have a lot of dynamic cooling to work with, although it shows a stronger low, 993 millibars. That's what the trend has been over the past few runs, although GFS has been going downhill with that. But there's not a whole lot of dynamic cooling to work with this system. Like I said, the polar jet stream is not going to be in place, so it's not going to have any cold air or Arctic air behind this thing. But it does show a pretty good hit of snow across. Now, don't get too excited over this. It does show a decent hit of snow across Maryland, portions of Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Ohio, Northern Virginia, and West Virginia as well. Could that happen? It's a possibility. But we're going to see what's going to happen here. That's pretty much where your low is kind of strongest. It has more dynamic cooling. It's also a little bit closer to the jet stream, which your jet stream will be something like this here, which will be much closer, so that cold air is going to be closer to it. So the higher probability for snow at this point is looking to be portions of the mid-Atlantic here than anywhere else here. But this will be definitely something we'll be paying attention to, and things can change. That's also a possibility there. And like I said about a lot of rain, let's talk about that. So this is the European model. You can see here, when you get to those reds and brighter reds, let me actually get a different color here. Let's go with yellow. So if you're in like the reds into the brighter reds here, that's 2+ inches of snow. I meant not snow, rain here, which is quite a bit of rain here, but some of these regions do need some rain here. This is the European model, and this is a little bit further south here than what malls were trending. Malls, what used to be before, was generally something like this here. Now it's a little bit further south. Now, but malls will probably be jumping back and forth with this, but we're gonna see. But that's a decent amount of rain that could be coming across these regions here, so that could bring a flash flood threat potential. And some of this is all in one day here. Basically, most of your rain here, which is mixed in with that other system like I was talking about here, like GFS was showing. It's mixed in with that there as well. But that's pretty much the rain for the next 7 days here, pretty much there. Here's the GFS model here showing some much higher amounts. When you get to those yellows or brown colors, that's where you get to 5 to 6 inches of rain. But areas in the red, that's over 2 inches rain. This right here, this is from a different system here. Like I said, it could bring a decent amount of rain there. But you can see here, most of its rain is bullseyed across most of Tennessee here and eventually getting to northern Mississippi and east central uh, Arkansas there. So it'll be something to pay attention to. And this low pressure system does have a lot of moisture to work with, and it could put down quite a bit of rain and can create some flash flooding issues. Last one is the Canadian model, which is the furthest to the north, further north than the rest. You can see here, generally speaking, 2 to 4, maybe isolated 5 inch amounts across some of these regions here. So the flash flooding threat is definitely there, and that's something we have the highest confidence with this system here is that it could bring over 2 inches of rain, and this is going to be happening pretty much in one day. So there could be some flash flooding issues, which again, some of these areas do need some rain. It's been very dry, especially across here in Kentucky. We haven't had much of any rain so far this January, and even into December was pretty dry. So we haven't had a lot of rain in a while, although we had a couple hits here and there. But generally speaking, it's been very dry across these regions there. But not only Kentucky, but a lot of these areas has been pretty dry. So yeah, on that. This is the weather prediction centers for the rain for the next 7 days here. And again, areas in the red, pretty much anywhere from 2 to possibly 4 inches of rain here. So a lot of rain that could be coming here across these regions here, which is also mixed in with a couple other systems that may dive in across the south. So just to keep in mind that in the next couple of days here, we'll be able to see this a little bit better here. But again, a lot of rain could be coming. I'll take a look to that severe weather potential, and now I warn you guys, this isn't great thing to use here, but I'll just show you guys to it anyways. Now this is CIPS experimental analog based severe weather probability system here. And basically this is by the GFS ensembles here, so this is pretty much your latest run here. And you can see here now this is having analogs, that's similar to this setup, and you can see here it brings a pretty decent hit of severe weather across Arkansas and Louisiana, but I don't think that's really going to happen. This thing here typically overdoes things, which is very common. But as we move to day 7, you can see it shifts a little bit further to the east, making it more of a bullseye across still portions of Arkansas, Louisiana, but more across northern Mississippi and getting into portions of Alabama. And then as we move to day 8, it's pretty much gone. So the severe weather potential is there, and we'll be keeping an eye on that. And this is the GFS model here. This is the mid-level cape with wind shear, which are be your wind bars here, which there is some wind shear in place and also a decent amount of cape, so pretty decent environment here across Texas here, which we're getting close to severe weather season, so it's pretty much right around the corner. And by this photograph here, yeah, there's not too much shear in place here. I mean, in the low levels, not a whole lot of shear. 19 knots. That's not a whole lot of shear. Your hodograph is kind of all over the place, although your critical angle number is very high. So there's some things, that are favorable, and there's other things that are not. Surface Space Cape is near 2,000. That's decently high. It's actually high, actually. Your equinox, so that's the height of how far those thunderstorms could go up. And you can see here it's around between 200 and 300 millibars there. So, yeah, you can see here the atmosphere is not that, it's not really that unstable, but, it's favorable for thunderstorms to at least develop here. You can see there's some decently strong winds up there as well, so it could have a little bit of a hard time of building up there. So, but we'll be watching this closer here. Your LCO height is very low. So, but again, this will definitely be something we'll be watching for here in the incoming days. Now, it's a little bit early to talk about the specifics of the severe weather threat, but the severe weather threat is there. You can see here it may continue, out across portions of Alabama, Mississippi, Arkansas, Louisiana. Let's try to get a sounding out of Alabama. And you can see your Cape values are much lower, but the hodograph does look a little bit better. Although there's a lot more wind shear to work with there as well. So you may not have a lot of instability, which it's not going to take a whole lot of instability to get some severe weather going, but there's a lot of wind shear. So this is what you call a low cape and a high shear environment, and that can bring some surprises. If you guys remember, on the first day of 2021, we have quite a few tornadoes that happened across portions of Georgia and I believe South Carolina, and that was a high wind shear and a low cape environment. So could that happen again? It's a possibility, but we'll just say that there's a potential for some severe weather across Dixie Alley and the Several Plains with this system here. Last thing we're going to take a look into is the wind, because there could be quite a bit of wind here with this system. So let's take it all the way to Tuesday here. So this is the European model. This should be 12Z. Yep. You can see here's the latest run with this. If we turn on wind gusts here, you can see here there could be some decent wind gusts, especially across portions of Alabama, Tennessee, Georgia, Mississippi. Pretty much Dixie Alley here. Could see some decent wind gusts here. Could be as high as 50 miles an hour, although that could be overdone. Typically overdoes these events. However, if you guys did remember the extreme wind event up across the Northern Plains, the models actually did a pretty good job with that. But we'll see. Models typically overdo, with the winds and stuff like that. If we take a look at the GFS, you can see it's a little bit quite further south with the track here. Not as strong of low pressure, so your wind gusts is not going to be as high. But I'll tell you what, the European model is showing a stronger system on the 0Z run, and it will show a wind gust as high as 60 miles an hour in some of these regions. But I highly doubt that's going to happen, but that's what it showed before. Doesn't show it to be that bad at this point, although it could be windy across some of these regions here, but it's really going to depend on how strong this low is going to be. Although a lot of this stuff could change before we get to the event. We're still quite a few days away from the event. But anyways, guys, this is Arc Guys today. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you really do like my channel, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notifications so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, you can put in the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys' questions. I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.